All right, folks. I've been listening to Elder Mary on this one he just did, and he's going to be reading out of John chapter 8. He's going to start at the first verse, and this is about the woman that they brought to Jesus, who they claimed that was caught in adultery. And when the story, Jesus went down and stooped down on the ground and wrote on the ground. Now, he said that somebody asked him that they know what Jesus wrote on the ground, and he said, "Well, the Bible don't teach that," and stuff like that. But I'm gonna show you what the Bible do teach, where Jesus wrote that it was prophesied that Jesus was going to write on the ground by the prophet Jeremiah. All right, and what he wrote was the sins of the people. They came to Jesus, and as Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground, he didn't say nothing, but he said, "He who got sin cast the first stone." So he stooped down and wrote again. They probably wondered what he was writing, so they went over there, and Jesus knew the thoughts. He knew what was going to come, who was going to come and look over his shoulder, or look over and see what he was writing. So, for instance, if Lou was coming to see what he was writing, he would write down Lou's sin, and Lou would look at his sin and walk away. And the next one was Bob. Bob come, and he would write down Bob's sin, and Bob would look, and he would walk away. So that's why I say that he was writing down their sins. They all came, and they started departing away, and they were probably looking at what he was written down, and as they were coming, he knew who was coming up next, so he was writing down their sin. And I'm going to show you where that's written in the book of Jeremiah. It was fulfilled, and here in John 8, where he's about to read. So let's go ahead and let him read, and let's go ahead and pick this thing apart. All right, let's properly explain it, rightly divide it. All right, here we go.
Start at verse number 1, twin. Brace it, rather. John 8 and 1. What did it say, son?
Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives.
Jesus went into the Mount of Olives.
And early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him.
He came to the temple, and all the people came to Jesus.
And he sat down and taught them.
Jesus sat down and taught them. Read it.
And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery.
They brought unto him a what?
A woman taken in adultery.
Where the man at? Why did they just bring the woman? Do you understand? They just brought the woman.
All right, folks, the reason why I stopped there, it says, because the scribe and the Pharisees brought this woman to Jesus. All right, and the scribes and the Pharisees, these are descendants of Israel. All right, these are descendants of Israel. These were Jews. These are descendants of Israel. And the reason why I'm throwing this out there, because when I go to the scripture, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So yes, some descendants of Israel brought this woman to Jesus that they said she was caught in the very act of adultery. And Elder Mary's right. Say, well, where's the man? Because it takes two to commit adultery, a man and a woman, right? And they do this to try to accuse him. But I just wanted y'all to see that it was the scribes and the Pharisees, and these was considered Jews, or they was children of Israel, the descendants of Israel. So I just wanted y'all to realize, descendants of Israel. All right, that's what they was. Let's keep going.
Well, she can't commit adultery by herself. Should have brought the man too. Do you understand? That lets you know a lot there when they want to blame just one. If a woman commit adultery, if a man commit adultery, it's equally wrong. It's equally sin. Do you understand? What did it say, son?
And when they had set her in the midst, they said
set
unto
her
him,
in the midst, what happened?
They say unto him,
Master,
this woman was taken in adultery in the very act.
Master, they talking to Jesus. This woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Caught her right in the act of it. Read it, son.
Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned.
Moses in the law said stone her.
But what says thou?
Jesus. Moses in the law said stone. In other words, kill her. But Jesus, what you say?
This they said, tempting him,
They trying to trap Jesus.
that they might have to accuse him.
Read it, son.
But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not.
Jesus ignored them. Stooped down and wrote on the ground as if he heard them not. What did he write on the ground?
Don't say.
Y'all know one man told me he knew what Jesus wrote on the ground? He told me, he said, I know what he wrote on the ground. Okay. Well, keep that to yourself. Just look at it. You just keep, if you know what Jesus wrote on the ground, you keep that to yourself. Don't tell me, because if it's not written in the Bible, I'm not going to believe what you say. Because the only way I can prove, certify what you're saying is the truth is based on Scripture. You know.
All right, folks, you heard him. He said the only way he can certify it is based on Scripture. Well, all right, let me go ahead and break this down and give Scripture. All right, it's going to show what Jesus wrote on the ground. First of all, let's get what Jesus said in Luke 24:44. All right, in Luke 24:44. Luke 24:44, Jesus said, and he said unto them, these are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and the Psalms concerning me. Jesus said all things must be fulfilled. All right. Now that what Jesus was doing in John 8, when he stooped down and wrote on the ground, that had to be fulfilled. All right. And we're gonna find out, was it fulfilled? Well, that was being fulfilled, but it was already prophesied by the prophet Jeremiah. And Jesus said, all things must be fulfilled that was written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me. All right, so let's find out what the prophet Jeremiah talked about Jesus, which is the Lord. You know, no, you're not the Lord, he is God, and the Lord's name is Jesus, and the Lord is God. All right, so we're going to find out what did the prophet Jeremiah said about him. All right, so Jeremiah 17:13, and it reads, O Lord, the hope of Israel. Remember, it says the hope of Israel. Remember I told you about those scribes and Pharisees, that they were descendants of Israel. It says the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart, listen what it says, they that depart from me shall be written in the earth. Now if you look at it, those ones, when Jesus said, he who have no sin, let him cast the first stone, and then he stooped down like he never heard him. And like I said, I gave you an example earlier. Now if Bob was coming up there to see what he was writing, he would write down Bob's sin, and Bob would look at and walk away. It would have condemned Bob, you know. So Bob couldn't cast the first stone because Bob had sin. But if Leroy come, and then he knew Leroy was coming because Jesus knew the thoughts of all men. He knew all things, so he knew Leroy was going to be next coming up. So he wrote down Leroy's sin. Somebody said, well, it didn't say he wrote down their sins. Then what was it? All right, because he did say, who that has no sin cast the first stone. So he knew all that had sinned. So if he wasn't writing down that sin down, you got to tell me and show me what was he writing. I say it was their sins, because none of them could condemn the woman. All right, and they did walk away. You know, they left the scene, and it says, O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart, that means to leave, from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of the living water. So what Jesus did in John 8, when he stooped down and written, that's being fulfilled, that was talked about in Jeremiah 17:13. So Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, prophesied of it, and that's only written one time in the Bible, in the whole Bible. That scripture right there is only written. So that had to be fulfilled. All right. And it says, shall be written in the earth. And then Jesus comes in John 8 and fulfills it by stooping down and writing on the ground, writing on the earth their sins. Had to be their sins. What else would it have been? He was already telling them that he who have no sin, let him cast the first stone. So he had to be writing down their sins. So when they was coming to him, that's why they departed, from, I think it's from the oldest to the least, that departed from him. So that's what it was, that Jesus stooped down and was writing on the ground the sins of Israel, those that forsook him. Because they was trying to accuse him, of something that they knew that for that woman to commit adultery, it had to be a man and a woman, to commit adultery and stuff like that. So that's what it is. You got Jesus saying all things must be fulfilled that was written in the law of Moses and in the prophet and the Psalms concerning me. And the prophet Jeremiah said, O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart from thee shall be written in the earth. So that's the only time Jesus started writing in the earth, and that was in John 8. All right, but let's go ahead and finish and see if Ella Mary agreed that it was sins, their sins that they was convicted of. All right.
It's amazing to me that these men are so deceived today that they think they can get revelation that's not even written in the Bible. Do you understand? Look here, the Pensacola prophet asked me that question right back there in Sunday school. Right back there in Sunday school, that Pensacola prophet asked me that question. Do I think you can get revelation that's not recorded in the scripture? I said, of course not. The way you prove it's from God is based on the scripture. So,
all right, Rose, you heard him. He said the way you can prove it's from God is based on the scripture. Well, I gave you Jeremiah 17:13. That's scripture. And he was reading from John 8 when Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground. And Jeremiah 13:8 seems to line up with John 8 when Jesus stooped down on the ground. And this is saying that they that depart from me shall be written in the earth. The earth is the ground. So he says shall be written. So God was writing their sins. That's what I believe, that God was writing their sins. If you disagree, then come back with Bible and show me when was this fulfilled, that Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground. Give me another scripture to prove that it was fulfilled by something else and something else was written. I say there was their sins because Jesus said, he that have no sin cast the first stone. So he knew they all had sin and come short of the glory. So folks, that's it. That's the thing that you can go to prove, because that's the only scripture proven in Jeremiah that he was writing on the earth. And then John 8 is the fulfillment, that was being fulfilled. It was being fulfilled in John 8 when he stooped down and wrote on the ground and all that. So, all right. So this is All True 64 signing off. Peace.